Welcome, everyone, to yet another Content Profit Show. This is Jeff Herring, your host, and with me is kind of an incredible person. He's a student and a colleague, and he wrote the book Self Help 2.0 and has done incredible stuff with it. And we're here today to talk about procrastination, how content creators can put off procrastinating and win. Okay. And so, Larry, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. It's good to be with you again.
And it's good to have you here again. I don't know if I gave your full name earlier. It's Larry Burton, and everything we talk about will be in the show notes. All the links, all the everything's. Now, I'll ask this again because people join as we go. But those of you that are here, when you say something we like or really, here's an old counselor word, resonates with you, hit that little love button or that like button so we can see little things popping up. That always drives us and motivates us. So, Larry and I have had several conversations about helping content creators. And I've got a section there on my Substack now called Captain Content, How to Get Stuck in Profit. You'll be seeing more of that as we go. And so one of the many topics like perfectionism and imposter syndrome and all these things that we listed out, procrastination was pretty much at the top. Now, the good news here, folks, is that whatever we suggest here in this casual conversation, you'll get a chance to practice today because every single one of us will be tempted to procrastinate something before our head hits the pillow tonight, right, Larry? So,
Yeah,
this is
rationalization.
immediately, this is immediately usable stuff. Now, when we were having a conversation about it this week, um, you pointed out something I don't think I've ever really consciously put together about procrastination and working with people for so long, and that's that it's based on fear.
Yeah, and if you take even one step higher, Jeff, it's human nature to want to feel safe.
Right.
And so when we're faced with a task or a situation where emotionally we don't feel safe, one way to cope with that is to procrastinate. So you're afraid of the discomfort. So it's basically a fear, but it's a
Yes.
choice of wanting to feel safe emotionally. So part of the trick with procrastination is learning how to help yourself to approach tasks in a way that feels safe and comfortable to you emotionally.
That makes a lot of sense. And could discomfort be as simple as I just don't want to do it because I just don't like doing it?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah,
so it's fair to be
that's,
uncomfortable.
I mean, you should, I don't know how you can build a business that you don't enjoy doing without going crazy.
That's true.
Because you've got an internal tug of war going on. So you've got to find that spot where it's something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if I was like, what would be like, well, okay, my dad was a government employee, right? He worked for HUD and then ran mortgage companies. And on his deathbed, after several other attempts, he was still trying to get me, when I was a private counselor, to go be a GS 13 with the government because that was really high paying.
It's
And
secure.
that's right. And I'm like, Dad, you might as well shoot me to do that because that would be so incredibly boring to me. And so, that's a really neat way to look at it. It may not be on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 fear, but it's the fear of being uncomfortable, the fear of having to do something we don't want to do or don't know how to do or don't like doing. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So
Um,
if you understand, that old saying, a problem well defined is half solved.
yes.
So if you define procrastination in terms of what it is, that it's making you uncomfortable with whatever it is, now you can learn strategies to help yourself to feel comfortable in you breaking it down. So you break it down into bite-sized pieces. You figure out if it's something I don't know, how can I learn it, or how can I get somebody to help me? Those sorts of things.
I
Uh, it,
really like that. And one way I didn't realize was a way of dealing with procrastination when I started doing it. But it's my garage story. Okay, back when I had two sons at home and had a big house, that garage got out of hand. Okay,
Mhm.
because part of it looked like it was right out of Sons of Anarchy because my son had two bikes and he was keeping one for another person, and so the rest of it just became, well, let's put it here because we don't know where else to put it. And one day I walked out and I went, okay, this is ridiculous. We've got to clean up the garage. Not a fun task. So what I started doing was every time I got home and every time I was leaving, I picked up one thing and put it where it needed to go.
Ah,
Okay. And so
yeah,
taking little bites, right?
yeah.
And sometimes if I had time, that one thing would lead to another, to another. So when it finally came time, okay, we're going to clean the garage, it was a lot further down the road and wasn't as uncomfortable. It wasn't as big a discomfort.
Yeah, we've got a back office that where I keep all books and things, and it gets disorderly pretty quickly. So my wife has learned to say, "Can we take 15 minutes to go and straighten up this one room a little bit?" And
Ooh,
I
that's
can
a
I
wise
can
woman.
handle doing it for 15 minutes, and then usually that'll last about a half hour, and then I hit my wall and we
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
married
not
a wise woman,
overwhelming.
but you already knew that you married a wise woman. My goodness. All right. So for you're a content creator and you're in some of my programs, what what do you come up against in building a content based business that you want to procrastinate about, that you want to put off the most?
For me, the technology is the most frustrating thing and just makes me nuts.
Okay.
So, so that's one of the reasons that I in part of your programs and all is that it helps me learn the systems and keeps it simple. So I can drive the car, just don't ask me to build the car.
Well, yeah. I mean, I turned on all the lights for this show, but how
Right.
that works, I don't know. I just know not to touch hot wires. Did that by accident once, and I remember. Okay, so and there's a lot of stuff like that. And part of what I try to teach is, okay, you don't got to know all the technology and why it works. I have a 30-year-old son that's worked IT in major systems who knows how to do that. He knows why it works. And when I call him up or text him asking a question, he laughs at me, and I'm like, finally I came up with, son, don't laugh at me because I taught you how to use a spoon. Um, but what I teach people is you just got to know what buttons to push and what order to push them in to make money.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
So,
that's and just learn simple systems. Don't make it so complex that you can't do it or you avoid it. And go there. So I've been benefiting a lot by being reminded that just try to improve 1%. So much of procrastination comes from feeling overwhelmed.
yeah, I got to do all this by Friday.
Yeah, or whatever, or I work better under pressure.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I love it.
Yeah,
That
that's
I
what we
hear that
learned
a
in
lot from
school.
perfection. The cousin of procrastination is perfectionism.
Yeah,
And I hear people with both of those saying that, well, I work great under pressure. Well, let's talk to your body about that.
yeah,
Um, all right. So for me, that's how I dealt with learning technology, what buttons to push and what order to push them in order to help people and make money. This sounds crazy coming from a content creator because I can create all kinds of content and have for, gosh, since 94, 30 something years. Uh, I just don't like creating sales letters.
uh,
And I don't know why. I mean, it's content, it's what I do all the time, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's the length. And what I've learned to do, like you're talking about, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, or if a really well done newsletter has about 20 sections to it. And so I'll do a section at a time, and then I'll go work on something else or I'll go walk the dog or something. A lot of times I do that one section and I get the flow
yeah.
going, and so folks, that's another way. And feel free to share here in the chat what's your biggest procrastination online. as a content creator, and that's for you guys that are live and y'all that are listening to the recording on demand too, because we'll come back and answer those too. So what else do you know, Larry, as solutions for procrastination?
Well, Jeff, as you know, I approach this from an energy psychology framework.
Right, right.
So that's one of the reasons I do a lot better working with ideas and concepts than I do with technology. So,
Yep.
that's my
Good for
wheelhouse.
you.
So when you understand that you can work with your energy system to bring down the level of distress, right there, if you know how to manage the energy around your emotions, you can bring down the intensity so you don't get overwhelmed. And it helps you to think clearer and to chunk down the task at hand and think of creative
Could
solutions and
could
ways
you
to
say
improve
that
it.
again? Because that was gold.
Yeah,
About
when you
you.
understand, when you learn, and it's a learned skill, you learn how to work with your energy system around the emotions that you're feeling. You can bring down the intensity of the distress of the energy around that emotion and bring it down to where it's more manageable. Now you can think clearly. It's sort of like when you're just stressed out, you can't think straight, or you're so
Right,
angry you can't think straight.
right,
So if you understand how to work with your body's energy system to bring down the intensity of that emotion, now you can think through it and you can take small steps to resolve it instead of just procrastinating or pushing it away or running away. So things like that, you can the same thing with limiting beliefs, the idea that you have to do something perfectly or that I have to do everything or it's nothing or those kinds of beliefs that lead to frustration and procrastination. You can shift them. You learn how to work with the energy around the belief in order to replace it with a more empowering one. And then third is, the whole advantage of being in a flow state where you're in
mhm,
that zone. So
yes,
learning how to work with your body, with your energy system in order to put yourself into that state of flow. Where, like you said, you go in and you pick up and put one thing away in the garage and then you kind of, that feels good. So you get in, you do two or three more things.
right, right. And I like what you're saying about bringing your energy down because see so many people. If somebody's anxious or stressed,
Sure.
their first thing to try to do is say, "Calm down." Well, if that worked, you wouldn't be in that situation. And it's interesting how to frame stuff to calm someone. My youngest son is 23 and is about to finish up college and really wants to work at a place where he had been working in the summers and interning and volunteering. And he was so freaked out about, could he get a position? And we were talking on the phone one night. I said, all right, so what'd you do your senior year at high school at church? He goes, I was an intern in the high school department. I said, yeah. Okay. And what have you done every summer of college? I volunteered at Woodlands in the outdoor program. Yeah. Okay. Who offered you a job when you weren't even finished yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you spend a whole semester in one of their longer programs working, etc.? Okay. And he was like, okay, yeah, me. And I said, who's been an RA for 3 years, building communities, working with freshmen, and dealing with all of that stuff? I have. I said, okay. And who was the team leader at Chick-fil-A and was the only person they've ever interviewed that they hired on the first interview? And he was like, he knew. He goes, all right, Dad. I said, I know a lot of kids, Caleb, a lot of young adults your age. So do you. I can't think of another one that has that resume.
Right.
There
Right.
just isn't. And he's like, wow, you're right. And we shifted from procrastinating to apply for things, being nervous about stuff to he's ready to go confident. Now, do we have to have refreshers of that conversation? Yes. Because it's an energy issue. Does that make sense, Larry? That everybody might have to have refreshers of what calmed them down?
Well, yeah, because your nervous system gets overloaded and disrupted on a day-to-day basis. So, I part of the Pondera process, one of the applications I developed was for the vagus nerve, which is like the key piece of your central nervous system. And I do that 3 to 4 times a week
Okay.
just to help me to stay more centered and grounded and to be
Oh,
able to
wow.
deal with life on an even keel, more so than I would otherwise. So you
I
just
like
can't
that.
go through a day without being stressed somewhere or other, or dealing with crazy people or situations and things like that. So it's just a matter of self-care.
I like that. So you, as we would say here in the South, you eat your own cooking.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
because I feel, takes me 10, 15 minutes and to go through the process, and I feel so much better afterwards. Why wouldn't I do it? It's easier than exercise.
Exactly right. I have a good friend, and he wouldn't think of it as energy management, but I'll have this conversation with him. He volunteers about as much as I do, and he's from Jersey and South Florida in that order. So okay, the attitude. Um, a generalization that's true because I grew up in South Florida too. Anyway, he refuses to put anywhere on his car a decal or anything from the places we volunteer because of how he knows he is in traffic. Because he just gets crazy mad at people, right? And he doesn't want to badly represent the places. I'm like, makes sense to me.
Well, you're self-aware.
Yeah, it's self-aware. My biggest traffic thing that I'll get mad about, I'm pretty calm about it, but I'll still get mad about when a highway is closing from from 3 lanes to two or even one, and they're telling you this for 3 miles, right? And people wait to the last minute to get over. And if I'm in that lane, I'm like, the heck you're getting over. And I was taking Caleb to a party one night before he learned how to drive, and somebody tried that on the highway, and I was just in the right mood. I went off, and I was ranting and na for like 3 minutes. Finally stopped, and we got moving. And then I heard myself ranting again. I'm like, am I losing my mind? And Caleb holds up his phone. He'd recorded the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
I said, don't you put that online. It goes too late. Like, okay, you can walk the rest of the way. But yeah, a big part of it's awareness and finding ways to cope with that world.
Sure,
Um, One of the things I joke about, folks, and this works, okay, is the next time you're tempted to procrastinate before your head hits the pillow tonight and tomorrow and for the rest of whenever, the next time you're tempted to procrastinate, put it off and do it now. And tell yourself you'll procrastinate later. Okay.
yeah,
And Larry even knows this one, but he's laughing and I laugh when I say it, and you will too. And part of what happens there is the laughter changes the energy, right? And a lot of times by doing that, I laugh at myself and say, you got to eat your own cooking, Jeff. Do what you tell people to do. And I'll say, okay, I want to do this one part now, and I'll put off the rest till tomorrow.
sure.
And that changes the energy from resistance to want to do it, which is huge. Changing the energy from resistance to want to do it.
Well, when you look at the literature on being in that flow state where you're most productive, whether it's in doing business or sports or academics, whatever it may be, it's finding that sweet spot between being challenged enough that it engages you without being overwhelmed. So what
Ooh,
you're doing is you're taking the task and managing it so that you're not overwhelmed, that you want to just put it off. You're taking that bite size. You're eating that elephant one bite at a time and giving yourself permission to just take that one bite.
I like that. And there's a lot of reframes in there because one of them I do before I go to bed at night. I I put one thing on a sheet of paper or one set of things, the date, tomorrow's date, and I put down a column all the different money related accounts to check, and see where we are in the morning. But across the top, I write it's either GTD or sometimes I'll write it out. It stands for get to do. not
Uh,
have to do or not to do list, but get to do.
that's a great idea.
And I learned that one back when I was a therapist. That people would say, "How do you handle being on call?" And I said, sometimes it gets to me, but other times I think, you've worked really hard for a long time to get this many people that want to talk to the likes of you. So, and that switches it. Reframe is a powerful energy changer.
Well, that's like he's saying, don't use the word can't to and then make it a question. How can I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So
and go
language
ahead.
language is critical.
It's very critical, and you can take that "how can I" even further to in how many ways can I and enjoy the process. That gets mind blowing. That's like enjoy what? Enjoy the process. There's no way I'm gonna. Okay, don't. But how many ways can you
Or
get?
or where can I find somebody who's doing it and enjoying it, and then do what they're doing?
I
That's why
have,
that's why you're all the templates that you have. I
mhm.
don't have to start with a blank page. I'll just use one of your templates.
And you know how those were created? Um,
Nope.
One, when I was asked to do this as a guest somewhere, I think in '04 or '05, and I'd been writing that weekly column since '94, and I thought, oh, okay, people don't know how to do this. Cool. And what I built from there was I call it X marks the spot for your sweet spot. And one line of the X is something that people really need to know how to do online. Create content. The other X is something you're really good at. And where those two things meet is your sweet spot for content creation, for doing this stuff, for product creation. And so, folks, just a little bonus tip here. Never, ever, ever, ever take for granted what you do or think it's obvious, okay? Because it's not. I remember the first time I sat down at a workshop, Larry, when I was still a counselor and was getting into this world. And I shared with them, I said, you can do automated emails now. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, you can write emails and have them go out at certain times. And they'd have thought I just, you know, descended from heaven. I'm
Yeah.
like, and that's 20 something years ago, you know?
Yeah.
But it's the piece that makes you valuable, right? Because not everybody knows it. And there's things I don't know how to do. I mean, you were talking about people that like doing stuff. I have friends and colleagues that actually enjoy working with numbers,
Hmm.
which makes me think they're a little bent, but that's okay. And so that's the people I get to, okay, can you do this?
Yep.
Okay. Um,
Yep.
and it works, right?
Yep. Yep.
So we've learned about changing the energy flow. We've learned about techniques to do this. Um, if somebody were to grab an appointment with you, Larry, what would be the content of that time? What would go on?
It depends on what their challenge is.
Sure.
I mean, we agreed with, I do intro sessions at a discounted price with folks. That'll be in your show notes. And it depends on what they come with. You can only do so much in
Right.
45 minutes,
Right.
but I can show them how to bring down any distress that they're feeling in 20 minutes or less. And I can give them the principles, can talk it out and understand where their roadblocks are, maybe give them ideas on other ways to approach what they feel challenged by. You
So
know,
we're not just talking about procrastination. We're talking about whatever challenge.
it's true for any emotion or any belief.
Yes.
That is there, and strategies that I use to get stuff done.
I
Uh,
love it.
it's,
You just
but
reminded
you
me.
just you, you know I've been kicking around for over 7 decades, and you're getting close to that. You learn a few things along the way from our mistakes, and so
Yes.
you can pass on those tips to other people to make it a little bit easier. If they're not
Yes.
your kids, they'll probably listen. You know,
Exactly. I think I've always thought that talking to people older than me was a source of wisdom. I don't remember exactly what it was that reminded me of this story from years ago. The typical style when I sat down with a new client family was to see the parents and the kid together, okay, then see the kid, and then switch them out, talk to the parents by themselves. Well, one weekday morning, I was doing my thing. It was a parent and a kid. Now, folks, confidentiality is a real big thing for me, so I'm disguising this enough so you could never know who it is.
Good.
At the same time, keeping straight to the story. Okay, and so I sit down with this single parent, and we're going over everything, and then she said, "Well, can I ask you something else?" I said, "Sure." And she goes, "Well, I've been having this clicking in my ear, deep in my ear, like somebody's breaking off a Q-tip over and over, and I don't think that's a very nice thing for my co-creator to do." I'm like, "Okay, I just learned a lot, And so we worked with that situation. They were new in town, and they both needed a new doctor, so I referred them to a friend of mine. Okay, it was also my doctor, but we referred back and forth. I'm in the car, okay, and I'm in traffic, and I say to Carl, I told him what I just told you, the Q-tip thing. Here's this Q-tip breaking off in their ear, and Carl goes, "Well, don't you?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I almost wrecked the car." So Carl, this is why we work together, buddy. But even that, I bet, is an energetic thing, isn't it? Having some belief
Yeah,
that
well,
something's going on.
when you get into the weeds on this stuff and you realize that everything is a form of energy.
Yeah,
In science, you look at quantum physics, they understand that. We understand that's why at the heart of an atom is a cloud of energy. That's why when you split atoms, you get the energy. So
that makes
in
sense.
bombs,
That
you
makes
know.
sense. I love it.
But what we now know is that emotions and beliefs and memories all have an energy aspect to them. I call it their energy signature. And when you can learn how to use your intention to shift the energy around those, you shift the emotion itself, or the belief itself, or the memory itself. Now, this has been around for thousands of years,
Oh
Jeff.
yeah,
The
yeah,
traditional Chinese medicine, it's an extension of what we know, what they know from acupuncture and acupressure sort of
exactly.
thing. And there's lots of other applications of it. We're just expanding it to dealing with emotions and beliefs and memories and nervous system, that sort of thing.
I
And
love it. I love it.
my whole thing was like a blue collar spirituality, because I'm very practical, and I just want to take these ideas and understandings that have been around and make them practical and use them. And part of it, Jeff, is yeah, I've worked with a lot of people along the way, but it's like I want to equip people to help themselves.
Yes.
It's like going to the doctor. You can take care of 80% of your health, and you go to the doctor for the other 20%. You can do the same thing for yourself
Ooh,
emotionally and
what a
energetically.
sweet analogy. You can take care of 80% of yourself, but you get some help with the other 20%.
Yep,
I like that. I'm going to be talking about that in my men's group tomorrow. Okay, we could talk about this for hours, but we
sure.
need to start wrapping up. Folks, one thing I want to challenge you with is as you go out into the world, and maybe if you're not sure about this whole energy thing, pay attention to the people you interact with, especially if it's the first time. And you may not say this out loud, but you're thinking it. Oh, that person's got good energy. It may become as, oh, they're fun to be around. I enjoy seeing that person versus I'm walking to the other side of the sidewalk or whatever because
Yeah.
of bad energy, right?
Well, we both enjoy music.
Yes,
Yeah. How do different types of music make you feel differently? Music is just an energy sound wave. That's all that is. It's a vibration, and it's affecting you that
I
way.
love that.
Same thing, different colors impact you in different ways. So
I
you
don't.
can just pay attention to how you feel around a person in a situation, listening to music, those sorts of things, and you're tuning into your energy. It's talking to you.
That's a fantastic idea because I like all kinds. The only thing I don't like is like violent rap or
Right.
nasty rap. And so
Yeah.
one day when my oldest John was in high school, we're driving around. I forget what we were doing, but he wanted to play me a Lil Wayne song, which is one of those rappers. Um, and he played it for me, and I listened to the whole thing. And at the end, he said, "So what do you think?" I said, "Well, I think it would make a really great evangelical tool." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Because I'm certain that's what they play in hell."
Oh, wow.
He kind of gave me that look of dad, but he did laugh. So there you
You
go.
know, so
All right, so folks, what we're going to do is in the show notes is there's going to be a link to contact Larry if you want to set up an appointment along these lines and see what you can do. There's also going to be a link to Larry's Substack and a link to mine. Also in the chat there, feel free to let us know what other things you get blocked with online as a content creator. Procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, fear of success, fear of failure, all those things. The list is long. Um, and we'll be doing, Larry will, I will, we'll be doing it together, more of these kind of things because I was telling somebody earlier today, you want to get good therapy, start an online business.
it's
It's going to push on you in ways you never knew.
you've got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable if you're going to have an online business.
That's really well said. I like that. So, folks, hey, a lot of places you could have been, chose to be with us, whether you're live or on the on demand replay. And if you weren't live, where were you? I'm glad you're here on demand. If that's you, a lot of places you could have been, you chose to be with us, and so always appreciate that. On the show notes later on, this will come out tonight. Go get this stuff. And as always, folks, go use this stuff, and we will catch you on the next show.
We're
Larry,
here to
thanks,
help.
bud. Great job.
All right. Be well, Jeff.
You too.